I'm Lalea. I'm currently 38 and married with a couple of children and another one on the way that's about 16 weeks, so I'm almost up to halfway. I probably started to accept as I was a teenager because I started to make myself more informed, and that was a huge stepping stone because my parents didn't understand the situation very well, and growing up, the information that we received it probably could have been a bit better. I found that in my circumstance, and it probably would have made a lot of difference having family support, but making myself more informed about the situation in general and then myself in particular in my own situation, then basically sort of empowered me to take over my own health and to be responsible for my own health. So having a doctor that you can talk to, that you can ask questions of, that's supportive in you, particularly as you start to get older, starting to take over from your parents as the person managing your situation, because you're the one that has to take the medication every day and can see the effects of either taking it or not taking it. Part of that issue that it touches on, I suppose, is that now the fertility of women with CAH is increasing. There are a lot more women having families, being married with good treatment. Then fertility for men shouldn't be impacted on. So boys with CAH have a normal outlook of being fathers if they take their medication regularly. So it's particularly important sort of, I suppose, from teenage years onwards, because that's when you're starting to establish your cycle and all that sort of thing. Then taking medication regularly and taking the appropriate medication and working that out with your doctor as your body changes as you get older, then sometimes you need adjustment and that sort of thing as well. Working in cooperation with your doctor to establish a good treatment regime for your circumstance, and then working with that day by day by taking your medication basically sets you up to have good health and to really have fertility that's normal for your circumstance, because it puts you in the best process later, that if you want to have a family and that sort of thing, then it's not something that CAH has to stand in the way of if you've got good control and good treatment. I think growing up, that because my parents didn't have a good understanding of the situation and didn't have as much knowledge, that it was a lot harder for them to act on the front foot and to act quickly when I started to get sick and that sort of thing. So sometimes we ended up in a worse situation because we took too long to respond. So a lot of families now learn through education and through support from their doctors and everything that early action is the thing you need to do, particularly with children, because they can go downhill so quickly. Taking consistent medication is actually at the core of everything, because it maintains all your other life. So all the things that you want to do can't happen unless you take your medication regularly. Really, if I wasn't taking my medication, then my pregnancies wouldn't continue, because my body wouldn't be able to support a pregnancy without medication. And throughout my life, to do all the things I needed to do and just the normal things of daily life, my body needs those things. Diabetics have medication. People that have failing eyesight wear glasses, and it's just a matter of seeing it as a life maintenance thing that, you know, with less time as you get older, it's not a life and death situation so much, because you're maintaining it from day to day with your medication, and so it just becomes a part of life, like putting on your glasses in the morning.
In 1999, our son was born, and he was 4.3 kilos when he was born. He was a cracking great big baby. He was very healthy, and everything looked fantastic. When he was about 3 weeks of age, he was vomiting all the time, he was losing weight, and he was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and I had a sense that something was drastically wrong despite going to the baby health clinic repeatedly. I'm a doctor myself, so I didn't want to be, overly dramatic, but trying to, just be calm. But something was really wrong, so I took him to the family doctor and just sat there and cried and said, something's wrong with my baby. And I'm very lucky they referred me straight away to see a paediatrician, a baby doctor, who did some blood tests, and he was diagnosed with CAH. So our son was born in 1999, and in 2004 he'd just started kindergarten and was going to school every day, and life was terrific. And at that time I read some articles about what life was like for children in Vietnam who had CAH, and it couldn't be more different. My child was off at school having a fantastic time. These children couldn't get medication, the doses were being rationed, the side effects of having poorly treated CAH was terrible, life was very difficult for them. And so we formed this organisation, CLAN, CAH Living As Neighbours, and it was all about families who were living with CAH in Australia, New Zealand, America, the UK, countries where we do have a lot of support and resources available to us. Considering children and families living in less resourced countries as our neighbours, as you would if you had a neighbour down the street who had no medicine, you would share your bottles of medicine with them if they ran out. Well, it's the same concept. Just because people live a long way away, they're no less your neighbours. And so CLAN is committed to living as a community of CAH families and caring about everyone equally. For the CAH clubs around the world, we're wanting to communicate messages about living happy, healthy lives with CAH. And CLAN has come up with 6 basic rules. We call them the golden rules. The first is taking the medication every day without fail, as prescribed by your doctor. The second is going to see your child's doctor regularly for checkups and having your doctor monitor how your child's progressing. The third is keeping an early eye, a close eye on your child at all times to see if there are any signs of an illness where you may need to give a triple dose of hydrocortisone. And you'll come to learn what those subtle signs are and get a real feel for things, and it does become easier as your child gets older. The fourth one is if you notice those signs that your child might be a bit unwell, how to manage it with the triple dose that I mentioned, giving fluid, giving sugar, having a check with the doctor. The fifth is if that illness progresses even further towards an adrenal crisis, learning about how to give hydrocortisone injections and what to do in that situation, going to see the hospital staff urgently. But the last one is just as important as the first one, having your medications regularly, and that's living a normal, healthy, happy life with CAH, not letting CAH limit your life, not letting fear or anxieties limit what you do, or the life that your child lives, because your child should have the same life as their neighbour next door, just happy and healthy with CAH. Even as a doctor, I'd heard of CAH. I'd even been involved in the management of one little girl with CAH earlier in my career, but really I didn't know. Like most doctors, I really didn't have a good idea of what CAH was, and people would tell me my child had a good future with CAH, it was okay. Our paediatrician even described it as just a nuisance, which I can tell you now that's really how I look at it, just a nuisance, but at the time it was hard to believe. And our paediatric endocrinologist introduced us to a young man who had CAH, an 18-year-old man who had CAH. And spending 1 minute with him just told me everything, told me that our son would have a great life with CAH.
The things I like are AFL, cricket, drama, a few other things. But my favourite subject at school would probably either be art or PE. At school every day about 2 o'clock after lunchtime I usually take my medication, 6 milligrams. I see it as being fun. I get to go late into class. I don't really see myself being different. I just see myself being the same as every other child.